Yeah. Benson. Wow.
Good afternoon. The October 13th, 2025 meeting of the University Faculty Assembly will come to order. The meeting of the University Assembly has been called to receive the annual State University Address from President Benson, as outlined in the Faculty Constitution. I'm Dr. Scott Critchlow, Chair of the West Virginia University Faculty Senate and the presiding officer of the Faculty Assembly. Today's agenda is limited to the State of the University Address, with a Q&A session to follow. Once those items are complete, there will be a 15-minute recess, after which the October meeting of the Faculty Senate will be called to order. With that, we will now receive the State of the University Address from President Michael T. Benson. President Benson, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, Scott, for that warm introduction. And we're delighted to see you all here and all those on the internet. Thank you for joining us. I'm very grateful for this chance today because it is a great time to be a mountaineer. And I hope you feel some of this enthusiasm that I have that I hope you'll share as we talk about the current and the future together. I'm going to start with a quick video.
Hi, we're WVU. Probably know us for screaming. And yeah, we're pretty good at it. But here, it's more than a chant. It's our celebration of innovation.
Let's go.
Our rallying cry for community.
Let's go!
And honestly, it's just our way of life. So whether you're chasing big dreams or just chasing sunsets.
Let's go!
So yes, I have gotten the hang of that chant because we say it often and in so many ways encapsulates where we are and I hope where we're going. We are certainly in a strong position to recruit students, to keep them here, and most importantly, to graduate them. As the state's only R1 land-grant flagship university, and I say that every chance I get because we're it. The only R1 land-grant flagship university. We have the unique ability to attract and retain talented faculty and staff, lead groundbreaking research, serve the state of West Virginia, and at a time of great change for higher education as a whole, make a really unique contribution. And because we're mountaineers, we like to have some fun along the way, and we'll do that. First, I'd like to start with a quote and see if anybody knows who said it. This is the quote. I have regretted that another subject, which in my estimation is of interest and concern to the well-being of this country, was not touched upon also. I mean education generally as one of the surest means of enlightening and giving just ways of thinking to our citizens, but particularly the establishment of a university, he meant a national university, where the youth from all parts of the United States might receive the polish of erudition in the arts, sciences, and belles letters. Anybody want to guess who said that? George Washington. He said in his inaugural address of 1790, he touched on it and used this phrase, knowledge is in every country the surest basis of public happiness. He made a similar plea in this letter to Alexander Hamilton. Now, you can imagine Alexander Hamilton was arguing for a national bank while Jefferson was arguing for other things. Of course, Washington was arguing for a university. He made a similar appeal to Congress just 2 weeks later in his final address to Congress. It wasn't done in person, printed in a newspaper, and he transmitted it to each member of Congress. A national university was never meant to be. But what happened? State institutions like ours rose up in subsequent decades. Perhaps one of the best descriptions of WVU and our role and mission as a land-grant institution was provided by our 13th president, Irvin Stewart. This is what he said. The state university is a people's university. It belongs to the people in a real sense. They can determine the direction and rate of its growth by the way in which they grant or withhold their support. I love this next paragraph. The son of the town's hardest worker or of the town loafer, the son of the rich man or of the poor man, the son of the miner, the school teacher, the farmer, the bank president, or the day laborer, if he has the ability, or she, can attend its classes, and he may emerge as tomorrow's governor, judge, legislator, manager of industry, or as a better farmer or a better citizen. By the way, Irvin Stewart served as the president of the commissioner of the FCC was president here for, I believe, 12 years. But I have the great honor of having an office in Stewart Hall. In February of 1950, February 7th, in fact, 150 years ago, 75 years ago, while speaking with alumni in Charleston, this is what President Stewart had to say. The main point here is this: the State University is a people's. It doesn't belong to me or to Gordon Gee or anybody else. It belongs to the people of the state of West Virginia. It belongs to our students. It belongs to all of us. Stewart, who served as president for more than a decade, traveled around the state in the early days of his presidency, touting the importance of a university for all of West Virginia. His administration implemented multiple programs highlighting the university, its students, faculty, and staff, and academic programs. Stewart focused on reinvesting also in tradition. So as I've gone around the state, what have I learned? I try to model, in many ways, my tour of West Virginia after what President Stewart did in the 1940s and 50s. I've learned a few things. Number one, West Virginia is a beautiful place. The best way to see a place, to learn about it, is in a car or on foot. That's what we've done. I don't know how many, where's Travis? Travis, how many miles have we put on the car? Thousands, okay, there's a good generic response. We've put a lot of miles on a lot of windy roads going from community to community. And I've learned that West Virginia is full of really nice people. People who are committed to their communities. I've said this many times, having lived in Kentucky for nearly 8 years, where it's all about the county you're from. I'm not from Louisville, I'm not from Lexington, I'm from Jefferson County, or I'm from Fayette County. The same thing here. People are so proud of their counties. They are very proud of their university. And we, in turn, are proud of our land-grant mission and are duty-bound by an obligation to serve others. People have asked me what I've learned or what I've heard. I've heard stories of people whose grandparents came here in the 1940s after World War II. They came here with the GI Bill. And it changed forever their lives, but all the subsequent generations followed. It is a multi-generational impact that really is incredibly inspiring. Going back to President Stewart, the people of West Virginia can determine the direction and rate of the university's growth by the way in which they grant or withhold their support. This is a line that we intend to use with our legislature in the upcoming session. This is where we've been. All the light colored counties are the ones where we've always visited. We'll pick up again tomorrow. We're headed back down to Beckley to spend some time at WVU Tech. Then we're going out to Eastern Panhandle Friday. This is the University of the State, and to understand the impact that we have on our state, we need to understand the history of this place, and that's been a big part of our Welcome Home tour. I think we need the sound.
Statewide tour. Over the next few weeks, we're going to hit as many counties as we possibly can. I cannot wait to meet the great citizens of the Mountain State. Let's go. What a week it's been. 18 counties in 5 days. We've had an unbelievable time meeting the people of West Virginia, seeing facilities, historical sites. But we haven't been to your county yet. We will. By the end of June of next year, we'll hit all 55. Let's go, Mountaineers.
So it has been an amazing tour, and I want to go off script here for 1 second and tell you a story from our last stop, which was Wednesday of last week. And I appreciate staff that really value my favorite stops, our museums or historical markers. In this case, it was the State Museum in Charleston, and we spent all morning there. And if you haven't been to the State Museum, I highly recommend it. It is as well laid out and curated as any place I've seen. And they have an ingenious kind of mechanism. You're going to appreciate, you go in the back of house in a museum, and they have stacks and all sorts of artifacts, books, documents. They've created spaces inside the museum where they actually show some of those storage spaces. So we walked into a little corner of the museum. You'll remember Travis and Aaron, they were with me. Kind of looked out over a courtyard, and it had various Civil War artifacts. On the back wall was a flag, and the flag had a little kind of descriptor on it. We became a state on June the 20th, officially, 1860. You can appreciate that Gettysburg happened a few weeks later. Material was hard to come by, particularly in the South. So to get someone to stitch a new flag with the 35th star on it was quite a task. Well, the descriptor on this flag said, this flag, created shortly after the state was created in 1863, flew over Soldier Cemetery during Abraham Lincoln's inaugural Gettysburg Address. Arguably the most famous 2-minute talk in history. And I just thought there was another moment of serendipity as we've kind of turned corners from here to there. We've come across these amazing stories about the places, the people, and the events that took place. And I don't mean to sound maudlin about it or hyperbolic, but it is incredibly inspiring. So if you don't get out and see your state, shame on you, because it is a remarkable place. And there are 2 states, and I've lived in both of them now, that value their history more than any other, their state history. One is Texas. Having grown up in middle school in Texas and saluting the state, the Republic of the state of Texas, you know what I'm talking about. Here, West Virginia is the second. And yes, I am going to sit for the Golden Horseshoe exam. I don't know if I'll pass it, but I'm going to try my best. I want to give you another little snapshot of a day in the life of our tour. And I don't know who put the stops together for this one, but it was September the 9th. These are kind of an amalgam of different photographs, different stops. The top left is where we went into the mine at Mount Pleasant. The middle shot there is where we were at the Buckwheat Festival. And I did eat several buckwheat cakes. And you can see we had a chance to walk across the Philippi Bridge. They say Philippi or Philippi? Philippi. I was testing you because in Israel they say Philippi. But anyway, the Philippi Bridge, the first land battle of the Civil War. And on September the 9th, this is where we started. We started by visiting the courthouse in Tucker County. And then we went to Kingsford Charcoal. I'll get to them in just a second, but they have brilliant marketing. You can see the beer coal here. On the left, it was the Christmas coal. So keep an eye out for this because you can actually get a piece of coal and stick it in your kid's stocking. And then we went to Blackwater Falls. That was the morning. We got a pepperoni roll, and we made our way into Pendleton County. We went to Seneca Rocks. Franklin, we visited with the mayor and the city council and the superintendent of schools, went to the courthouse, and then we finished the day by going to Grant County. And I quizzed the people of Grant County, for whom is your county named? And I was relieved to know it was for my favorite Civil War general, Ulysses S. Grant. But as we made our way into the first stop, you won't be able to see it probably very well. I'm going to give it a shot. But can you see that Model T right here in the kind of bottom quadrant of the mural? It had a little placard on the front, and the placard said Kingsford. And I thought, why on earth does a Model T have Kingsford placard on its grill? Well, that would be answered in short order, because as we made our way to the charcoal plant, they had hanging on their wall this photograph. Now, this photograph is, on the left is Thomas Edison. The gentleman on top of the water wheel there is John Burroughs, who was a very good friend of Walt Whitman. It could be his twin brother, it looks like. This is Henry Ford to his left, and on the far right there is Harvey Firestone. So these gentlemen were called the vagabonds, and they would get in their Model Ts and they would drive about and stop where they wanted to. And in this instance, the gentleman on the far right here is a gentleman by the name of Edward Kingsford. Here's the picture of the four of them. So his wife was a cousin of Henry Ford, and I'm getting into the weeds here. But as they developed and they manufactured Model Ts, a lot of timber refuse was produced. So they came up with an idea of trying to build a factory that could produce charcoal, which initially was called Ford and it had an F on it. If you buy a bag of charcoal, no, it has a K on it for Kingsford. And this was another moment of serendipity as we turned a corner and had a chance to tour that factory. As we got into Franklin, which is in, what county is Franklin? Pendleton, thank you. Pendleton County. The mayor here had been mayor for 12 years, and I said, he said, what are you doing here? And I said, well, we're here touring the city, and the city manager was sitting there, and I said, well, we're here from West Virginia University, and how can we help? He said, well, I'm not sure what you can do for us. And then the city manager spoke up, he goes, yeah, you could help us with about a $5 million request that we have to redo our sewer infrastructure, because they are a part of Chesapeake Water and Sewer, is that right? And they've told us that everybody has to be up to a certain standard. We are a town of 600 people. We have no way to figure out how we're going to pay for it. So we then got into the Grant Center. We put them in touch with people that could potentially write grants, help them with this request. From there, before that, we had a chance to meet with the city council and some of the county commissioners. I think there's a state legislator in that photograph. We've been able to distribute Let's Go flags everywhere we've gone. From there, we went to see the school superintendent. That's the woman here on the right. Her assistant superintendent, also a WVU graduate, said, what can we do to help you? She said, well, several years ago, there was a grant from the Benson Foundation that we had to try and train more students to become teachers. But for whatever reason, that was disbanded. So as we got back to campus, we started asking questions. Can we get that going again? And I tell you these stories not to entertain or bemuse, but to illustrate that everywhere we go, people had requests of how we could help them. And all we had to do was ask. And they were very forthcoming in their response. Our last stop of the night was WVU Medicine, which has a hospital there in Grant County, Grant Memorial Hospital. This was a brand new state-of-the-art physical therapy facility, which they've now been able to vacate space that heretofore it occupied, and they use it for other purposes. But a very well-run hospital there, beautifully maintained. So as we've gone about, I mentioned the fact we met a lot of people. We've also met a lot of students. Students that are coming to WVU because their parents came here, because their friend came here, because their grandparents came here in the 1940s or 50s. We have had a chance also to visit some schools. And I've used this statistic with you all before, different groups. This last year, the state of West Virginia graduated 18,000 high schools. That number is going to continue to decline. Just the fact of life. Nothing you can do to produce 19-year-olds overnight. So we are going to have to go north into a state like Pennsylvania that graduated 118,000 high school students, as did Ohio. But we are going to tell, and Fabrizio, please, Faz, will you stand up? This is Fabrizio, our new Vice President for Enrollment Management. Joined us from the University of Tennessee, where one of the secret sauces to their enrollment surge, and when you say a surge, go take a look at how much they've increased their enrollment. It's getting more students into that funnel, getting more applications. We've got to have more people apply to come to WVU. I will tell every single West Virginia high school student, there is a place for you at our university, at your university. Perhaps it's at Kaiser, perhaps it's at Potomac State, where if you want an open enrollment school and you need to get your academic sea legs under you, that's the place to go. If you want a small, intimate setting, Potomac State is perfect. Maybe you want to go do technical degrees, engineering degrees in a smaller setting, in a more rural kind of part of our state. WVU Tech is for you. If you want to come to a town which Bleacher Report called one of the top 15 college football towns in America, when we're winning, this is the place to come. This is the place for you. If you want an R1 land-grant research or flagship university experience. So we're going to win West Virginia. We are going to increase our market share of high school students who want to stay in this state and come to our university. And one way we do that is we go and visit high schools. So one of my first schools I visited was George Washington High School. And these young people right here, the young man on the left, National Merit Scholar finalist, I think he told me he had a perfect score on the ACT. He's coming here. The young woman on the left, she's the student body president. She's also coming here. The two who have not yet decided are these two right here. And we're working hard on them. Our next stop was in Lincoln County. And quite frankly, that was kind of martial turf. And we felt it. You can see the principal kind of stand off to the side with the flag. But still in all, that's not going to stop. That's not going to stop us. We want students to tell us no to our face. They don't want to come to West Virginia University. But we're going to do everything we can to get into these high schools and make the case. And as I said, there's a place for them here. There's also a degree for them wherever that might be. And I tell high school students, please, beyond high school, do something. A trade, a 2-year degree, diploma, a certificate, 4-year degree. Not every program is for you. You've got to find the right one and the right fit. If I can, let me now jump to where we are with our strategic compass and our planning process. I would be remiss if I didn't have my friend and partner in all this stand up. Leslie, will you please stand? Leslie Miel. Leslie is an expert in all things strategic planning. It has been such a blast to work with her, Heather and Stephanie and Aaron and many, many others. We've kind of begun this process. When I say begin the process, we are still in the nascent stages of this process. This is 97 pages of feedback. This is my nighttime reading. Before I go to bed, I make sure I've reviewed the latest comments that have come in from the day before. This is what we asked of you. And I want to tell you, a slight majority of comments came back from staff. The next big cadre of comments came from our faculty. So thank you for that. We are taking this and we're going to improve our plan. We're going to revise our proposed mission statement, our strategic indicators. You can see that we also have priorities, goals, and 4 strategy enablers. Our goal is to refine the feedback we've gotten, implement those changes, and then we'll take it to our Board of Governors, our Alumni Board, and also our Foundation Board in early November for their feedback. So again, I mean this when I say thank you for the feedback. It's been very helpful. The feedback that's most helpful, and this is exactly what Leslie said, is the one that said, I don't like this because. And there have been a lot of really, really kind of succinct and salient and germane points, so thank you for that. You've heard me say this too. We're all recruiters, we're all retainers, and we're all champions for our students. This is what a freshman class of nearly 4,500 students looks like. Somebody asked, how on earth do we get them all to stay inside the state? And you can see the band are the ones in the yellow shirt that formed the outline. But this was Sunday Night Lights, a great way to introduce our new freshmen to campus and to some of the traditions that we have. I touched on the mission statement, but this is key to what we want to do as we move forward. Several years ago, before I get to this last part, several years ago, I was in Chicago, and I went to the Field Museum because I love museums, and affixed to the Field Museum was this big banner. And the banner said this: make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood, and probably themselves will not be realized. Make big plans. Aim high in hope and work, remembering that a noble, logical diagram, once recorded, will never die. But long after we are gone, will be a living thing, asserting itself with ever-growing insistency. Remember that our sons and grandsons and granddaughters are going to do things that would stagger us. Let your watchword be order and your beacon beauty. Think big. That was from Daniel Burnham. You've read Devil in the White City, novel about the Chicago Fair. He is the one that is credited with completely transforming Chicago into one of the great architectural gems in North America. This idea of thinking big is applicable to what we want to do. I want to end with this before I open it up to questions. This is a list of the 71 members of the Association of American Universities. 69 are in North America. In 2023, the AAU invited 6 new members: Arizona State, the George Washington University, University of California, Riverside, University of Miami, University of Notre Dame, and the University of South Florida. Now, I see my friend Clay here and others associated with WVU Medicine and our Health Sciences Center. If you had told me 10, 12, 15 years ago that WVU Medicine would be a health system with 25 hospitals, 4 states, and annual revenues of $8 billion, servicing tens of thousands of people every single year throughout our state and throughout our region, nobody would have believed it. In 2007, the University of South Florida said, we are going to do whatever it takes to make a path forward for our institution to join the AAU. To give you a perspective of what AAU institutions do, last year, this is fiscal year 2024, they received 61% of all federal university R&D spending, $65.9 billion. So why can't West Virginia University be on this list? The institutions that are circled are members of our very own Big 12 conference. So I know Michael Crow, he's a friend, he's been the president of the University of Arizona State for years. He always used to joke that the AAU was nothing more than an academic country club. They wanted nothing to do with it. One reason he said that was Arizona was in it and he was not. And he'll admit it. He said they had aspirations to someday join the AAU. They're now in it. Look at this list and tell me if South Florida can do it, which is a member of the American Athletic Conference, not even a Power 4 conference, but was in the Big East with us years ago. Why can't we? So I'm putting out today an aspirational goal, a think big goal, that as we kind of finalize our team, talking about a new provost, new CFO, some other key hires with the deans that are retiring and transitioning out. This is a really seminal moment for our institution. And it's one of those stretch goals I think that I know is going to push. But I see ourselves in there with any of those other institutions. And I'm going to say it. It's a goal that we can accomplish. I don't know when, but the process of doing it is going to make us better. It's going to make us a stronger, more academically focused institution with support for our faculty and our staff, and certainly for our students. WVU really does change lives. Working together, we turn our students' goals into graduation and their dreams into careers. As we went through the process, the strategic plan process, we heard a lot about making sure our graduates have a wonderful educational experience, but at the other end of that experience is what? A chance for gainful employment. I love to learn as much as anybody, but my parents were even happier that I got a job after I graduated. And that's what we're in the business of doing. I want to end by kind of where I started. I started with a quote from President Stewart. If you know much about Justin Morrill, he was one of 9 children. He was elected to Congress when he was 40 years old. He spent the next 40 years of his life, he died when he was 80, in both U.S. House of Representatives and U.S. Senate. He wanted nothing more than to go to college. His father was a laborer. He said, Justin, if I let you go to college and I pay for it, how am I going to do that for the other 8? So he made it his life's work to introduce legislation, which he did in 1859, called the Morrill Land-Grant Act, which did not pass. It was vetoed by President Buchanan. And so they had to wait until 1862 to reintroduce it once all the southern states seceded. And he realized his dream of doing this. The fundamental idea was to offer an opportunity in every state for a liberal and larger education to larger numbers, not merely to those destined to the sedentary profession, but for the world's business, for the industrial pursuits, professions in life. I don't take exception with any of that except the sedentary professions, because I think he's maybe describing my profession. I hope not. But he wanted the chance for more people to have access to the one thing that can change a person's life more than anything else. That's the power of education. As I've gone around the state, I've recognized how much people love this place and how much they love the imagery and the tradition. And historic buildings like Woodburn Hall, which to me is one of the most beautiful, iconic buildings we have. If you didn't pay attention to Hallmark, and I don't, but people send me notes about it, they just had it on a movie that's coming out. What's the name of the movie? Anybody know? Fun in the Snow or something? I don't know. You can tell I don't watch Hallmark. But anyway, it's on a poster for an upcoming movie. And one thing that we do as an institution is we make a difference throughout the state. I would argue that we also make a difference for our community. We're the largest employer in Mon County. WVU Medicine is the largest employer in the state. And we're going to bring back a tradition that serves as a uniter, a unifying event to bring our campus back together. And that is a holiday lighting on December the 2nd. I can't promise Woodburn Hall is going to look exactly like this because we have to do this in phases. But we're going to bring our entire community back together to kick off the holiday season in a way that I hope really unifies Mon County and gets people to support our closing University Avenue. Okay, all right. Some of you got it. That is one thing we're trying hard. As I come out of Stewart Hall every day and I watch students try to navigate university, it needs to be closed. It needs to be made into a pedestrian mall, and traffic needs to be diverted. So I've been told that we've been trying this for 30 years, and I don't care. We are going to do it. And we need the support of our county and our city. And the city council members listening, we need your help. So December the 2nd, mark it down, the lighting party in front of Woodburn Hall. We started with Let's Go. You know, you've heard me talk about it in our strategic planning with our action verbs. I appreciate the fact that people have kind of allowed us to take a phrase that's very, very recognizable and do something with it. But I want to end by saying again, this is the university, this university belongs to the state of West Virginia, belongs to the citizens of the state. We make them proud every single day with the work that you all do, with the extension service that applies that knowledge and those discoveries in a very real, tangible sort of way, through life-changing discoveries that happen in our academic medical center and WVU Medicine every single day. So it's an honor to be your president. I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity, and thank you for your time today, and I'm happy to take any questions. Yes, sir. I think the microphone's coming around. Yes, sir.
My name's Chris Haddix, College of Creative Arts and Media. So I assume if we applied for AAU today,
Yes,
what would that letter say?
Yeah.
What would the
Thank you. They look at 4 kind of immediate criteria, but there's some that would stand out right off the bat. Our graduation rate is too low. We do not have enough members of our academy, of our faculty who are national. Number 3, they would look at where faculty citations are, where you are cited in journals. They would also look at publications that you participate in, where your articles placed. They would also look at and we're kind of we'd be in the bottom quartile right now in terms of the number of what is the amount of R&D every year, both federally sponsored and what we invest. So this is not something you flip a switch and it all magically just happens. It is an inexorable path that is arduous, long term. As I said, it may take several years. It will take several years, but the process of passing through it is to make it better. Those are the things that I would immediately say. We applied for a Phi Beta Kappa chapter at Coastal Carolina, same sort of thing. We didn't have enough faculty that were PBK graduates themselves. We didn't teach enough what they'd call liberal arts courses and some other. So I know the president of the AAU is the former president of Case Western. He was Gordon Gee's provost at Ohio State. The incoming chair of the president's group is the current president of KU, Doug Girod. I've gotten to know him fairly well. So I intend to reach out to him and say, this is something we'd like to do. What would you advise that we do right out of the gate? Thank you for that question. Yes.
Mandy Wyrick, I'm with the School of Social Work. I live in very mountainous county for a little bit of. Saying that we have 8,000 graduates a year, a number, but what we're looking at right now is the closure of a lot of schools in mountain. These young children that are going to have to ride an hour, hour and a half to school every morning across dangerous mountains. School, maybe they get put on Zoom or something. So these kids are arriving at school on their back foot, but they're growing up in the shadow of like the National Forest, the Green Bank Observatory, NASA, the home of the Rocket Boys. We have a long history of excellence in West Virginia, but the kids that are growing up in these remote places, that seems really out of reach again. And so how do you see WVU playing a part in reigniting that culture of excellence? You grow up in Holler and have all these things against you, but still work at our observatory and work at NASA and can reach all these dreams.
That is I don't know if I can add to that question or if I have an answer. That was as well stated summary of challenges facing rural America, not just here. I saw it in Kentucky. I saw it in South Carolina. One thing that we're going to try and do, and I want Fabrizio to stand up here real quick, if you can get him a microphone, and talk about how we're going to reach out to our immediate counties and getting high school kids on campus. So part of that is getting into those schools. And your point about consolidation, when we went to Lincoln County, they had a bench out that was, Aaron, how many schools had been consolidated? 3 schools. And now you had some kids driving 40 minutes each way to get to high school. Now, you're talking about smaller kids that have to go on those buses on those winding roads that I've been on. But one thing we're trying to do immediately is to get kids on campus. Fabrizio, you want to talk about what we're going to launch?
Good afternoon, everybody. So what we're doing is we're doing some pilots at university where we're working with schools to have buses bring students to campus and spend a day on the campus, getting a tour, being with different departments, receiving an info session, having lunch on campus, to really get them out of their environment, help them see what universities offer, hopefully help them feel like they're that they could have a place. So we're piloting this. We're working 5 currently. We're going to track the success of it. We're going to see how we're doing. But we want to really open this up beyond those 5. We will reach different colleges across to partner with.
And thank you. You're going to see a lot more of presidents of the university in schools. I've been invited to speak at the Elkins Rotary. I'm going to couple that with a visit. You have to get to kids at 7th, 8th, 9th grade, as opposed to waiting until they're sophomores, juniors. So we're going to do a lot more of that too. So thank you again for the question. Yes, Joe.
Joe Jones, College of Creative Arts and Media. So I'm very supportive of your goals, increasing enrollment, AAU, reigniting the land grant mission. But putting that in historic context, we're both historians. We went through something called academic transformation pretty recently. And I think with academic transformation, we were all told to do more with this. And even at the beginning of this year, our college was told we owed $750,000 to Central. So I think to meet these goals, we are going to need more resources back at the department and the college level. What is the plan to meet these goals? Again, we're all on the same ship here. What is the plan for resources to flow back to the actual college department for us to help?
Well, I appreciate that, and I can always count on Joe for a very thoughtful question. One thing that we've got to do is make sure we realize that the real work happens at the local level. So the department, unit, college. And as we talk about the strategic plan, you'll remember that one of the 4 enablers is finance. And we can't accomplish any of this without the resources your level to accomplish what we're asking. You know, to get the graduation rate up, Paul, and we met our president today, Paul put together a whole sheet of what it's going to take to get our graduation rate up 5, 6, 7, 8 points. By the way, the early indicators say that our retention rate will go up almost 2% between fall of last year to this year. Is that right, Paul? That's not firmly baked, so keep that to yourself. But that is a significant step forward because that retention rate leads to a higher graduation rate, obviously. So as our budget model continues to roll out, I'm still learning about it. I will promise you, you make a case for this is what we want to accomplish in our unit, our department. We will do all we can to make it.
John McWilliams, Everly College. So similar consolidation, going to be consolidation, healthcare and rural hospitals, changes that countrywide. It seems like a person in particular would need to step up its efforts in some way to sort of, make up for this. I'm wondering what sort of plan discussions have happened, ways that help these people who are living in the hollers and it's more than just education, it's life and death.
Yeah. I'll give you a personal perspective that's very limited. I've got an expert here on the front row, and I'll encourage, we'll get Clay a microphone too. I want him to fill in wherever the holes that I leave. Number one is, by virtue of my position, I chair both the hospital board and WVU Medicine. I've only been to one meeting of each. So I'm learning as much as everybody else new on the board about healthcare, about the payee balance, about rural access hospitals, some of which we've been to. And you're exactly right. I've heard Albert Wright talk about, it seems like the hospitals that we have been acquiring, and they've been on kind of a spree of late, are all distressed hospitals like you're describing. Everywhere we've gone, and my colleagues can back me up, once WVU Medicine gets hold of it, and they assess where they are, they retire the debt, within literally months, if not a few short years, they've turned it around. And it's a model that's based on a culture of service, of caring, of ensuring access to those populations. And I've been incredibly inspired by it. And I don't see it stemming at all. If anything, I see it flowing even more as some of these areas we're talking about. And we've been there. Travis, what was the last critical access hospital you visited? St. Joe's in Buchanan. Same story. Long Catholic health tradition that for years and years served that community. And they got a little bit kind of over their skis, and WMS came in, and now has turned it around. And I see that model happen in other places. Dr. Marsh, please fill in. There we go.
So thank you, President Benson. Certainly, John, thank you for your question. We are also worried about the service delivery to people of our state. As we know, the more south you go in our state, more rural and the more challenging health delivery. As President Benson says, we see our duty to serve the people of West Virginia. Our health system, I think, has been very, very smartly laid out. We have everybody on the same medical record platform, so all these hospitals can interact, can be seen at any of our 25 hospitals, and you immediately have your medical record right there available. We also have focused through other programs, including our Clinical Translation Science Award, to be able to reach out to small practicing groups, critical access hospitals, federally qualified health centers. We have a practice-based research network of about 132 sites, of which we also give healthcare delivery, we help train, we help clinical trials to those areas. I think that as we look at the university, the flagship university of the state of West Virginia, what President Benson said, not only about the health system, but really about our university, our duty is to serve. I think understanding that service mentality is so important. And the federal government has also come up with a $20 billion rural health fund that is being opened up to try to solve some of the issues. Thank
To that last point, we are very well poised to have access to some of those federal funds because people recognize, come to our state, how rural, a rural access hospital, critical access hospital has to fit all these criteria. They can have no more than 25 beds, and people have to have access. We've got several within our system. It really is inspiring to go to a place like Princeton, where we opened up a new cancer center, that now people won't have to drive to Charlotte or Roanoke, even come to Morgan. And it means everything to those people. So thank you for your question. Yes, sir.
Bayou, Valley College. I'm just curious to know whether there is a strategic plan in terms of trying to recruit more international students, given all that's going on.
Yes, I met with our new international students at the beginning of the semester. We're having a moment of Blaney House. I told them at the outset, I have enormous respect for students that come here from another place that do all of their education in a second language. If I were to ask you how many of you speak a second or third language, by show of hands, raise your hand. Okay, I asked that same group of students. I got up to one who spoke 5 languages. Everybody spoke a second or third or fourth language. And I have enormous respect for their kind of jumping out of a comfort zone and coming to a place like Morgantown and doing what they're doing. So number one, I value extraordinarily their extraordinary courage in doing that and appreciate what they add to our kind of the tapestry of our campus. Number two, we're trying our best to work with in kind of the current confines of recruiting international students, but we're doing all we can to get more. And if I remember correctly, Mark, we had a slight uptick this year in international. So it's a trend that's going the right direction, but we're going to invest even more. Thank you for your question. Other questions? God, are we on time?
Yeah, thank you for your address. It was very, very enjoyable and good. So my question is, the university is the people. We have the buildings, but the people is what makes a university. So the faculty here, we are now, because we're less, we're pulled to do many more things. So based on what we need is students recruiting, our first objective would be then teaching very well, so we recruit more students. But that means we're taking time from our research away. So how can we balance? Or do you have any idea? Thank you.
Well, I think that's a question that you as faculty have got to answer in terms of what your capacity is, but what we could do in terms of institutional support for a sabbatical, for release time, for more funds into research. If we're going to pursue this AAU path, we've got to step up our R&D. And it comes not only in terms of a sponsor project, what is receives federal funds, but what we do, what we invest institutionally. So that number I used of what the AAU universities account for, over 60%, all the R&D. We are kind of middle of we're 121st, to give you a perspective. The fact that Notre Dame got in without a medical school is quite remarkable. The great majority of those schools that are in the AAU have a. So we'll continue to look at the policies that we have, but the practices and how we can support you in both what you do in the classroom, but what you also do in your respective labs. I will tell you, and maybe I'll have a chance one day to lecture on my book, but Daniel Coit-Yeoman always used to say, the best teachers are made by being a good researcher, because you bring in your current, whatever the contemporary issue that you're pursuing in your field, and you apply it in the classroom. So I will be a big supporter of what you want to do in terms of researching and. All right, thank you all very much.
One now. Thank you, President Benson. That concludes the agenda for the Assembly meeting. We will take about a 15-minute pause to do some logistical changes for the Faculty Senate meeting. If you are going to be taking part in that online, you should have an email from Corey with a link to the Zoom for that. So we'll see you again in 15 minutes. For all of you who are leaving, thank you for coming today.